Hi everybody, Dan Illman, pleased to be joined by Byron King as we take a look at the Grade 3 Jeff Ruby Stakes, a very important Kentucky Derby qualifying points race at Turfway Park on Saturday. It's carded as race number 11. Get up early if you want to be involved with DRF Bets. Existing DRF Bets members get a first post bonus on prep days. Bet $25 to win on one horse in race number 1, whether it's at Turfway, Aqueduct, or Tampa Bay on Saturday. Get a $10 bonus. Learn more at drf.com/preps. Let's take a look at the field for the Jeff Ruby Stakes. Again, we're going a mile and an eighth. $200,000 is the purse. Byron, let's begin with the horse down towards the inside. The number 1, Dynamic Racer, a horse that has really seemed to improve with the addition of Lasix and the switch to the synthetic surface. That being said, I'm a little bit concerned about the step up in class and the mile and an eighth distance.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, Dan. This is a horse that was able to run second in the John Battaglia. He was beaten by the favorite for the Jeff Ruby, Some Like It Hot Brown. That day, Some Like It Hot Brown was returning from a layoff. Now he's got to start behind him. So I'm not so sure this horse can turn the tables.
The number 2 is Moonster, and Dale Romans has tried this horse in several stakes races on dirt to no avail, so he's going to take a shot on a synthetic surface. His sire, Malibu Moon, does just fine on synthetic, wins 16% of the time, a little bit of class on the bottom of the pedigree as well. The dam being a half to the Grade 1 stakes winning dirt router Seattle Smooth, but this horse really has to improve by leaps and bounds, you would think, in order to win this race after getting walloped at a big price in the Sam F. Davis.
Yes, you'd have to think that. I mean, he's been beaten double digits in 5 straight races. Admittedly, some of these have been tough spots, like the Breeders' Futurity at Grade 1 and the Sam F. Davis, but he clearly needs a form turnaround.
Intriguing long shot in this race is the 3 5-Star General. We throw up our time form U.S. pace projector. They got 5-Star General right there, close or on the lead, and 5-Star General's got one of those turfy pedigrees that might just seem to play well over the Turfway Park Polytrack. His sire, Distorted Humor, gets 16% winners on Polytrack, but the dam's a half-sister to Criminologist, a 4-time Grade 3 stakes winner on the turf. I think 4-Star General will handle this surface. The question is he this good?
Yes, and that is the question here. But he is one of just 2 stakes winners in the field, the other being Some Like It Hot Brown. He won the off-the-turf Central Park Stakes at Aqueduct. And as you mentioned, Dan, this is a horse that's bred for the turf. They've actually tried a couple times to get him on the grass, and it rained off, and he ended up running on dirt and running well, but his trainer, Arnold De La Cour, has always thought of him as a better turf or artificial kind of horse. And I also think this horse is going to be on the lead, which did not happen in the Sam F. Davis. He was kind of snatched up early, taken off the pace, and he was wide on both turns. Had a little trouble coming into the leaving the final turn of that race, and then finished reasonably well. But I know that Some Like It Hot Brown, who pace projector, also has prominent in here. They felt like last year he was waiting on horses when he made the lead, so I think he's going to be ridden patiently as he was in the John Battaglia, and if so, that could leave 5-Star General on a lonely lead.
Conversely, the number 4, Dabo, is at the back of the Timeform U.S. pace projector, and if their red bar, which indicates a fast pace, is correct, that could play right into Dabo's hooves. And I thought Dabo ran deceptively well in the Battaglia, considering it was his first start of the year. I think a nice building block for Dale Romans, but he's going to need some pace and race luck.
Yes, I mean, he's come from the closer. In fact, when he broke his maiden at Arlington last year, he was 15 lengths out of it at the top of the lane. He somehow won, and it was that race that inspired West Point Thoroughbreds and Peacock Stable to purchase him for some big bucks. And his first 2 starts for them were not up to what I think they were hoping for, but he did run a nice third in the Battaglia and does have a right to improve.
The number 5 is Baytown Jimbo. Seems like an ambitious spot to make the seasonal debut, going 9 furlongs, but he was in against some good 2-year-olds last year up at Woodbine. I believe Sir Winston is running in one of the Kentucky Derby preps, the Tampa Bay Derby, and Federal Law will be running in the Rushaway on the Jeff Ruby Stakes undercard. We have a formulator fact for a good trainer, Paul McEntee. It's a little bit negative, but at the price Baytown Jimbo is going to be, I'm not going to hold it against him too much. Past 5 years, 3-year-olds on synthetic, 0 for 30. I just think this might be a little bit too much too soon for a 3-year-old debut.
Yeah, I think they're taking a shot. I mean, these are Kentucky-based connections, and as you alluded to, he's already run well on the synthetic with a second to Federal Law previously at Woodbine. So why not? You know, you're talking a $200,000 purse, not the most stellar of field. And so, you know, you roll the dice.
The number 6 is Skywire, who won his debut over the Tapeta surface at Woodbine Sprinting, and that prompted the sharp owner Gary Barber to buy a co-interest in this horse. They shipped him down to Gulfstream for his seasonal debut. It was a race that was washed off the turf. He won very, very easily that day. A little bit green when Arad Ortiz popped him left-handed. He kind of ducked out a bit, but he steadied himself in due course. Being an Ontario bred, Mark Cassidy has already mentioned races like the Queen's Plate down the road for Skywire, and I think he fits very well in a race like the Jeff Ruby Stakes. I'm not worried about distance. This is the female family of classy turf horses like Sky Classic, and always a classic.
Yes, he's rock solid. I mean, it's really hard to find a fault in this particular horse. Both races have resulted in wins. He's already won on the synthetic. You know, you have a very good trainer in Mark Cassidy. Clearly, they're eyeing the Queen's Plate with this horse, which makes this race make a whole lot of sense. So there's really not a fault to this horse other than the fact that he is yet to race in a stakes race. So he is stepping up in class, but clearly a major player.
7 Counteroffer was beaten double-digit when wired by Well-Defined in the Sam F. Davis last time out, but he has won on turf, which could be a good sign for a synthetic surface. Got a little synthetic pedigree as well. Tapizar, 14% winners on synth. This dam was a half to a stakes winner on the synthetic surface. Maybe Counteroffer can improve for a real sharp trainer in Ian Wilkes, but something tells me he needs a hot pace.
Yes, you know, this is a horse that rallied in the Sam Davis to be 4th. Actually, there's 3 horses in this race exiting the Sam Davis, and he had the best finish of the trio. But having said that about him, you know, he really was never a significant factor in that race. He pretty much passed tired horses. So I do think he needs to step up his game a little bit. But for those that believe in him, he's 10-1 on the line, and he has also won on the turf, which many people look for as a, you know, kind of signal that they might take to the synthetic.
The number 8 is 12th of Neverland, another horse trying synthetic for the first time. This horse we could have had for $50,000 back on November the 29th. He is in very good form for an underrated New York trainer in Ray Handel. Istan gets 13% winners from synthetic runners. The dam was a half to a versatile runner, a stakes winner on both turf and dirt. I thought his last race was pretty good at Aqueduct. It seemed that speed was winning everything that day, and this horse tried to come from off the pace, was only beaten a nose. That being said, he's taking a big step up in class.
Yes, he is. Obviously, he's been running at this point. As you mentioned, he broke his maiden for $50,000, and he's since running some optional claiming starter kind of races. So, you know, he's not just moving into allowance, he's moving into a stakes race. So that is clearly a concern for him. But I do like the fact that his recent improvement has all come with the addition of blinkers for his last 3 starts, and that seems to have made a lot of improvement for this horse.
Something tells me that the shrewd Kenny McPeak is getting Curlin Gray better race after race. This will be his 3rd start of the form cycle, and I know he had to beat maiden claimers in order to achieve his only win. But last time out against the solid global campaign at Gulfstream Park, he didn't break very well. He was far back, but he finished with interest. Interest that makes me think that 9 furlongs is going to be okay. His dam was a stakes winner on turf at 9 furlongs.
Yes, and Kenny McPeak said, you know, that's one of his main reasons for trying this race. He believes distance, the horse is crying out for it. Obviously, he has not yet run on the synthetic. He has run exclusively on dirt, or excuse me, he ran one time on turf. I apologize. That was in his career debut. So he's a horse that comes from out of it, as you mentioned. He ran behind Global Campaign last out, who's a very promising 3-year-old that just ran in the Fountain of Youth the other day, grabbed a quarter and still ran pretty well. So he's been keeping some good company, even though he did dip down into the maiden claiming ranks to break his maiden.
Byron, as you so astutely mentioned earlier in the preview, Michael Maker wanted Some Like It Hot Brown to relax a little bit off the pace in the Battaglia Memorial, and he did so. He was pocketed at the quarter pole, and for a brief second it looked like there'd be nowhere to go. But the rail opened up, he shot on through in professional style, and he asserted his dominance in the final 16th of a mile. You mentioned that the 3 horse is likely to make the lead. I like Some Like It Hot Brown's post 10. I think he can escape early under Tyler Gaffalione and sit just off the leaders. He'll be very prominent and dangerous when they swing into the stretch.
Certainly. I mean, he is a horse that is clearly the one to beat. I think the only criticism you could really have of this horse in this particular spot is the fact that he is the favorite, so he's not going to offer a whole lot of value. But in addition to his John Battaglia, this is a horse that showed a lot of class by running 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf last year, and he set the pace that day. And if you're watching the replay of that race, I mean, obviously we know that he faded to 3rd, but he looked like the winner at the top of the stretch, and Maker feels like he was waiting on horses because he was by himself up front, so hence the change of style. But Maker is a 4-time winner of the Jeff Ruby, which has been run under a variety of names. All 4 of those wins in the synthetic era, so he knows what he's doing when he brings one to this race. A clear and deserving favorite. And
interestingly enough, he's the only horse with a win at 1 1/8 in that race at Saratoga that was run at the incorrect distance over the summertime. Speed App completes the field for Mr. Lucas. This horse is a maiden. We know that Mr. Lucas likes to take shots in these kind of races. Tough outside post position, tough spot for a maiden.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a placement, but of course, if you have faith in this horse, you're going to get quite a good price on the odds board. But coming from far out of it and still being a maiden, he has kept some good company. He's run against horses like Signal Man and Gray Attempt, some really nice horses, Intrepid Heart. So he has kept some good company, but he's a reach.
Let's take a look at our top picks for the Grade 3 Jeff Ruby Stakes. Doubtlessly the horse to beat is the Battaglia winner, the number 10, Some Like It Hot Brown. You are going back to Some Like It Hot Brown. How would you bet this race? Would you try to hook him up in some exactas?
I would. In fact, that's what my intention is. Although I clearly respect Skywire, I think as I look at the odds, or the morning line odds, the one that intrigues me the most, it's a bit of a price, is 5-Star General. And I do think he's going to run a lot better than he did in the Sam F. Davis. So I'm going to try some exactas with him.
10/3 for Byron. I kind of liked Skywire's last race at Gulfstream. I like his pedigree for 1 1/8. I don't like his 3-1 morning line, and I'm hoping that he drips up a little bit. But for me, it's going to be 6, 10, 9, and 8 in the Grade 3 Jeff Ruby Stakes. And I want to remind all of our existing DRF Bets customers, get involved early on Saturday because there's a first post bonus. Bet $25 to win on one horse in race number 1 at either Turfway or Tampa Bay or Aqueduct. Get a $10 bonus. Learn more at drf.com/preps. Approximate post time for the Grade 3 Jeff Ruby Stakes. Dig on in at 6:37 Eastern. Best of luck.